Do you think there are any unique opportunities that you see for Indonesia in adopting these advanced solutions?
I think there are plenty of unique opportunities. Indonesia as a market itself is massive, is absolutely massive, right? When we talk about Southeast Asia or Asia in general, no one ignores Indonesia, right? Indonesia is possibly I think the fastest growing economy
Yeah.
in this part of the world.
Mhm.
I think opportunities are many. I think the problem is not opportunities. It's not the lack of opportunities. I think the problem is getting support and investment into the type of opportunities,
Mhm.
right? So I mean, first and foremost, really, what is from a cost perspective, right? I think that is can sometimes be a bit debatable on whether these type of new ways of doing business or new technologies can actually reduce cost. Okay, that is something that it's debatable in Indonesia. It seems that many businesses uh, still adopt the throwing labor at a problem kind of approach, right? Which is honestly a very common approach, and it's an easy approach, right?
Mhm.
Versus the pain of implementing a software solution or high tech solution, because that takes time and that takes a significant amount of money, especially if you work with a foreign company, right?
Mhm.
To be able to do that, that is probably one of the biggest challenges that solution providers would face in Indonesia. Um, Ultimately, a lot of this has to be driven by the end customer itself, right? Uh, or it has to be driven by the customers of such businesses. Okay, to demand for to demand or to expect
Mhm.
better quality service, to demand to expect a lower cost of delivery, right? I think these are the things that has to be driven by the market itself. Um, yeah, so I think for opportunities in Indonesia, it's really dime a dozen. Okay, there are plenty of opportunities to try all different kinds of things, but it has to be in general, the market has to be collaborative about it. From solution providers like us must invest into Indonesia, okay, and to be willing to adapt to the Indonesian market, and at the same time, effort and time from Indonesian logistic companies, okay, or customers must be invested into proof of concepts, to trying out, these type of solutions and wholeheartedly trying out these type of solutions. Maybe not in a large scale, but in uh, a small scale that's large enough to be validated as a reliable proof of concept. Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. So I like that you said it's not about the lack of opportunities, but also more about having the support to adapt to these
Right.
solutions, and it's also important the end customer play a huge part in driving these advancements. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, a very simple case is sustainability. In reality, do businesses want to be sustainable? Okay, because sustainability costs money. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, the answer is usually yes, only if their customer demands it to be so. Okay.
Mhm.
So if the customer says, I want to work with you as a transport provider, okay,
Mhm.
but you must have certain sustainability programs in place, okay, or
Mhm.
you must hit certain carbon emission requirements, okay, then companies will start investing in those things, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of it is driven by the needs and want of the end customer, right?
Mhm.
So customers must support it, okay, and customers must be willing to invest and pay for it as well.
Okay. And do you think how important it is investment in technology for the growth of Indonesia's logistics sector?
Investment is definitely important when it comes to technology, right? And let me speak from a route optimization standpoint. One of the biggest challenges that we face in Indonesia is quality of maps. Okay, map quality. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you as a normal consumer is probably very aware of that, right?
Yeah.
Maps are not super good in Indonesia,
Yeah.
right? And even Google Maps, and even things like Grab Maps, when you call Grab, for example, or Gojek, right, the ETA calculations is all quite not correct, a bit off, right, or
Not
inaccurate.
so
Yeah, yeah,
accurate.
not
Yeah.
accurate. Correct. Yes. So that's a big challenge, right? Understanding the traffic, quality of maps, quality of geocoding is not great.
Mhm.
Okay, and a lot of investment is then needed by companies like ours, okay, to actually improve on these maps, right? And
Uh-huh.
it's not a small effort, it's a huge effort. Okay, but where does this map data come from? The map data actually comes from the customers.
Yeah.
Okay, so customers are the ones who provide these map data to us,
Mhm.
right? Because whatever map data we have, okay, as a global solutions provider, it's
Mhm.
whatever data that is already available to businesses and to the government and things like that, right?
Mhm.
Okay, the only other way to actually improve on that data is data that comes from the user itself, right?
Mhm.
So from an optimization standpoint, one of the common things that we would face is speed problems, right? So one of the things that we used to calculate in route optimization is on this particular road, how quickly does a truck travel, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
and in our map we have a speed allocated to it based on the data that we have. Okay, but on a number of cases, especially on the more rural parts of Indonesia, countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, we get wrong speeds, okay, because there's not enough data,
Mhm.
okay, and what we can do and as a company is actually to correct that on the map, okay,
Mhm.
but that correction, okay, that right speed must come from the customer. The customer should tell us, okay, uh, their truck, what is the average speed along this road, and they can track it, okay, via visibility solutions, telematics, that actually provide this type of data,
Mhm.
right? And this is the data that we need. So it takes two hands to clap, right? The solution provider must invest the
Mhm.
time and the effort into improving products and solutions, but the customer also, needs to be able to invest in the collection of data,
Mhm.
right? And providing that right data to the solutions provider, so that both improve with each other as we go along. So the investment is not just about money; it's also really about time and effort.
It's often a challenge, yeah.
Yeah.
I From what I conclude, and it takes two parties
Yes.
to
Correct.
work on that. Do you think there are any infrastructure improvements that are very necessary to support this in Indonesia?
I think Indonesia in general, probably the kind of infrastructure that is very important for a solution like PTV is actually your internet and telecommunications infrastructure. Okay, because we do rely on mobile internet connection
Mm.
in order to use our driver applications, for example.
Yeah.
Right. So a good internet infrastructure is very important, right?
Mm.
And I think in Indonesia in general is still quite okay. Okay.
Yeah.
From an internet point of view, I do understand that there are certain parts of Indonesia where the internet is not really good. Okay, but in general, it's not too bad. Okay, but essentially improvement in internet telecom network for better connectivity, for
Mm.
smart logistics,
Mm.
for even if you want to implement like Internet of Things, like your container trackers and your vehicle telematics, all this is fully reliant on your mobile data network, right?
Mm.
So that has to be good in order to get an accurate connection, an accurate reading of a location,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Um, and from an infrastructure point of view, obviously, road physical infrastructure is extremely important as well,
Mm.
right? The greatest contributor, obviously, to improved speed of delivery, okay, is physical infrastructure,
Mm.
right? Unfortunately, maybe in Indonesia's case, well, Jakarta is a bit too late for Jakarta, okay, for now, okay, which is why capital has been moved, right? So hopefully
Yeah.
improve that, yeah. But yeah, upgrading of roads definitely would impact smoother operations. Okay,
Mm.
but I would say that the focus would actually be, at least on our end, would be actually what would really help us is your mobile data network. Okay,
Mm.
your quality of maps as well. So the government working with map companies to improve the quality of maps, feeding the right traffic data over to map providers, so that solutions providers like us who buy the maps from the map providers, would
Mm.
have a would have accurate traffic data, with good road data, right? These are the kind of things that's extremely important for us at this current point in time. Yeah.
Okay, we're also talking about collaboration once again. It's really important to really work on that. And you also mentioned a few times about the issue, and which is sustainability. It's becoming a major concern. How do you think digital transport solution contribute and into making the logistics sector more sustainable?
So for route optimization, it's fairly straightforward, like I mentioned. Basically, if I travel less, okay, if I instead of traveling 1,000 kilometers a day, I optimize the routes. I now travel 800 kilometers. I travel 200 km less. That's 200 km of fuel that I burn less. Okay, so from a sustainability standpoint, I think that's a really strong case, right?
Mm,
Uh, and and like I mentioned before, when it comes to sustainability, unfortunately, okay, there must be customer demand for it, or there must be a impact to the customer in terms of sustainability.
mm,
In many situations, sustainable solutions means more expensive solutions. There's a cost to it. Okay. But
yes.
for route optimization solutions, okay, I think it's extremely in line with sustainability. And I think it's something that all companies should practice, because you don't only burn less fuel. Okay,
Mm,
burning less fuel means you buy less fuel. Okay,
yes.
so in order to be sustainable, you actually save money to be sustainable.
Yeah.
Okay, which is great. Okay, you're
Mm,
not investing more into recyclable packaging, right? Which is a bit more expensive. It's a different kind of approach, right? It's an
mm,
approach that actually saves money and be sustainable at the same time, right?
yeah.
So it's something I encourage all businesses to take a look at, okay? Because it directly impacts your carbon emissions and it's fully calculable,
Mm,
right? We can actually calculate, okay,
mm,
in order, we can actually calculate this is the amount of carbon emissions that you have saved, okay, in order for you to offset your carbon credits, for example.
mm. Yeah, I agree that being efficient and being sustainable don't have to be um, mutually exclusive. I guess they
Yes,
could go hand in hand. So there's
correct.
always an opportunity for companies to do good, but also at the same time to do well. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I think the challenge about sustainability, like I mentioned today, is that a lot of companies are scared of that word because it sounds like it means more expensive, higher costs, higher
Yeah.
investments, okay,
Mhm.
which is not necessarily true in PTV's case. Yeah.
Yeah. And what steps can Indonesia take to ensure that the digital transformation that they're implementing in transport is environmentally friendly?
If you're looking at digitalization, there are a couple of things that you can do. Okay. So first, route optimization. I think that's something that I've covered already.
Mhm.
Right. The second one is actually digitization of paper material. Okay, there are a lot of benefits to that, not just sustainability, right? So when you do deliveries, especially in the B2B space, we use a lot of paper. Okay, we
Mhm.
use a lot of paper. Everything must be printed, given to the driver, multiple copies, signed. Okay, and what happens is that all of this paper, okay, they need to be kept as records. Okay, so they're kept in boxes, okay, and they take up space. Okay, I have been to warehouses where such records are actually kept in the pallet spaces itself, taking up space in the actual warehouse,
Mhm.
right? So digitization of these paper records, okay, into electronic records is extremely important, and it does promote sustainability as well. That is another thing that actually cut cost, okay,
Mhm.
and promote sustainability. So now you don't have issues where you lose the paper, you lose the delivery orders. You know, you don't need to take up space in the warehouse to store the records, right? You don't have to buy paper. Okay,
Mhm.
so these are things that digitalization or digitization can do. Okay, that actually is sustainable, right?
Mhm.
For business.
Mhm.
Um, the whole point of actually being the whole point of digitalization or digital transformation is to be efficient. Okay, and efficiency in general promotes the use of less resources. Okay, whether it's actual human resources, physical resources. So digital transformation of transport industry moves in the right direction of sustainability.
Mhm.
Okay, and there are plenty of benefits to it. I think the question is it's whether you can find the right balance between cost and benefit when it comes to this.
Okay, so there is always a huge opportunity for Indonesia, yeah, to implement sustainability
Yes, huge opportunity.
yeah, through digitization or also digitalization. I'm sure this will resonate with many companies who are currently looking to align with global sustainability goals, because I could see that a lot of companies are starting to recognize that
Yeah.
they're not really into, like in a very big scale of implementation, but it's nice to see that a lot of companies are starting
Yeah.
to recognize that. And yeah, lastly, Shan, as someone who is deeply involved in this expertise or space, what is your vision for the future transport logistics? Do you have any advice for, especially for Indonesian companies that are looking to embrace digitalization in their transport operations?
Okay.
Um,
So my advice would be maybe first one, start with start small. Okay, that's my first piece of advice. Um, the challenge that I have and when especially when we speak with Indonesian companies, big Indonesian companies, is that the president has a big, great vision. Okay, there's a great vision of a digital transformation, right? But the biggest barrier to digital transformation is this thing called change management.
yeah.
Okay. Change
Mhm,
management is extremely difficult in an organization. It doesn't mean the boss say, I want to do this means it will happen. Okay. It doesn't mean that. Not at
mhm,
all. Right. Uh, I think many companies fail because they start and they try to start it big. Okay.
yeah.
Without understanding, uh, uh, exactly what is going on within their operations, without exactly understanding, do they have the right data environment to be able to do a digital transformation.
Mhm,
So even if we have a big vision for it, oh, we want to be paperless, we want to be fully digitally transformed, we want to implement AI, blah, 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 blah. These are things that happen step by step. It's not an overnight transformation kind of thing. Okay. And the problem with this is that you will end up if you try to go big, the thing that might happen is that you will end up spending a lot of money and potentially not succeeding. Okay, which makes the next step of digital transformation even harder. Okay,
mhm,
for businesses to accept because I've already spent so much money, it's not working. Why should I spend more money?
mhm,
Right. So my advice would be to take it step by step. Right. Do a small proof of concept. A
mhm,
proof of concept with one or two warehouses that are most supportive, that have the right people in place, uh, and it's a lot easier to work with a small project and for consultants and for solution providers to understand, okay, this is actually the kind of environment that we're working in, right? Oftentimes from solution providers, the goal is obviously to, oh, wow, we want big deals, big projects, right? Okay, but it is actually a very unhealthy uh, way of doing things, right?
mhm,
Really what we want to do is we want to start small. Okay, we want to understand the kind of working environment we're working with,
mhm,
right? We want to understand, are we the right fit, for the
mhm,
company?
mhm,
Whether this is the right customer for us or whether we are even the right solution provider for them. And all of this can be done within a small proof of concept, which you have a lot of control. And if this proof of concept goes well, okay, within the organization, or now you already have advocates, okay, for digital transformation. Okay, people who have this small group of people that have seen the benefit of it, right, can now be your advocates within the organization itself to say, hey, okay, I've done this with PTV, it works. Okay, it's made my life a lot easier. Now I'm going to teach you how to do it, or I'm going to support PTV and how to do it. And that's how we have done it successfully for many companies as well, right? Really, it's really about starting small and proving that it can be done. Instead of trying to take on something super huge and promising, the sky, promising the moon, right? I think that's not what we want to do. So for digital transformation, I would say that even if the company has a great vision, okay, uh, start by taking small steps, okay, and understanding the state of the business first. Yeah.
So baby steps, yeah,
Yes, baby.
before we go big, because
Yes. Go for the yeah,
change management actually takes some time, some
correct,
adjustment, and it doesn't necessarily like succeed in a short period of time. Yeah,
correct, correct.
we want to succeed in the long run. It's gonna take
It's
way
gonna
more
take time, and you have to give it time. You have to give it time, and you have to give it support, right?
time.
That's the challenge behind it. Yeah, it's because change management is going to be difficult. There'll be people who'll be wondering, oh, with digital transformation, does it mean that I lose my job?
Yeah.
Right? There'll be job protectionism. There'll be people trying to protect the jobs, and really is to understand, no, your job is actually safe, but it's changing. It's
Yeah.
changing. Your job needs to change, right? So that's the kind of management it needs to do, right? You need to be able to understand you can't change your whole operations overnight just because PTV says so, right?
Yeah.
You need to change the operations of maybe one small part of the business first and see if it works. If it works, how can we replicate it to the next part, next part, next part, next part? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think it's very relatable that I think people are a little bit afraid of this rapid transformation. They're afraid to lose their jobs, and but that's not what the solutions
Yeah.
do, right,
Yeah.
actually.
Correct.
Okay, that was very insightful, Sean. I think even though it's a bit of a challenge, to actually implement, to actually adopt transport logistics solutions, but I think it would be incredibly promising, as companies now begin to embrace digitalization a lot more fully, and I think businesses, especially in Indonesia, really could take a look that really to remember that maybe digital transformation could be one of their competitive advantage for the long run.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you so much for sharing your insight with us today.
Thank you, Fabria. Yeah.
Thank you. That was very insightful, Sean, and with your expertise as well, I'm sure a lot of our audience will take away some valuable lessons. So yeah, it's clear that digitalization is going to be a major driving force in the future of transport in the logistics sector. Yeah,
Great.
thank you so much for your time, and
Thank
we
you.
look, we look forward to seeing PTV Logistics continue to lead the way in this expertise in this area. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you. All
thank
right. Have a
you.
nice day. Bye bye.
Nice, yeah. Thank you.
Jangan lupa untuk mengikuti podcast Supply Chain Dialog oleh AIS Indonesia supaya Anda nggak ketinggalan nih tentang konten-konten menarik seputar supply chain dan logistics management. Bagi Anda yang tertarik untuk mendalami pengetahuan supply chain, jangan lupa untuk cek program training kami dan sertifikasi internasional kami di website dan juga sosial media kami. Sampai jumpa lain waktu. Bye!